Welcome back to this episode of HC Talk. I am your host, Lance Gormley.
And I am your co-host, Sissy.
HC Talk is an HCD podcast.
MTO Residential and Commercial Cleaning Service, LLC, serving the Newton and surrounding areas since 1995. Call owner Paula Cheney for more information at 316-288-9141, or you may email at MTO_cleaning service_LLC@yahoo.com. That's MTO Residential Commercial Cleaning Service, LLC. Call Paula. Welcome to the second part of our program where we sit down and talk with someone in the community. And today we have Manuel Jaso with the Newton Mexican American Athletic Club. Welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. We kind of led up to this interview with knowing that you all are having a big event.
Right.
And I've lived in Newton my entire life, Harvey County, and I've driven by there. And I've seen that there's a huge baseball tournament going on over there. And I've never went, right? I didn't know. I thought, well, that's somebody playing baseball over there for whatever they're playing baseball for. Correct. And so, you know, it's one of the bigger ones that come out there. I mean, it's right there visible. You can't help but drive by it, you know, and I've always wondered, man, how did that get started? And, you know, it's 75 years, correct?
75 years this year.
And I was thinking, wow, I got to know the history on that. We got to get them on the program so we can get some history at least recorded in audio form, so that way people can know straight out and have that projected to them, and they can learn all about what's going on in Newton and just what kind of an amazing program you all have and how it got to where we are today.
Well, just to start out with, this was an organization that started even before World War II. My grandparents came over from Mexico and actually El Paso where they first showed up. And then they came to Newton and worked for the railroad. And up until then, there wasn't many people playing baseball. So my great uncle and my grandfather started a baseball team in Newton. It started out just baseball, and that progressed that way probably for, I'm going to say, 20, 25 years. World War II came along. Well, our men went to war. And they were all coming back in 1945-ish, and they came back. And maybe I should preface this by saying, prior to all the World War II, even our Mexican people here in Newton were not allowed to play alongside with the Anglos.
Okay.
They had separation. You could not play.
Okay.
You can't even go to the same tournaments. So they had different leagues. They had different tournaments. So anyway, they came back from World War II and pretty much remained the same. They had white leagues, they had Mexican leagues, and I think of African-American leagues. Yeah. But African-American leagues and Mexican-American leagues were able to play against each other. But you still had that little bit of segregation.
Yeah.
So anyway, they came back from World War II, and then the fields, there were just not enough fields that big size for baseball. So a lot of them went to softball, where your field is not quite as big. And that's kind of where it all got started. They, as I said, could not play alongside the Anglos, and yet they wanted to play softball.
Yeah.
So they got a team from Hutchinson, a team from Wichita, and Topeka. And so the first tournament was only like 4 teams in 1946. And Newton won that tournament. And the funny thing about the whole thing, for me anyway, it's funny is that, yes, they were segregated against and they were not allowed to play with them, but yet they still chose the greatest American holiday to hold their tournament, the 4th of July weekend.
Love it.
So they were proud of their country, even if there was seclusion.
And nobody's stopping you from playing no baseball.
Right.
They might try to make some, I don't know, those were some rough times. And
Yes,
it
it
was
was.
just crazy that anybody would be treated in that way and not allowed to play a sport with another person, you know, because of their difference in color.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I mean, it's crazy to think. But with that, they just went out and said, well, if I can't play, then with you, I'll go start my own league.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And even though it starts small, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on our softball tournament, and I have some pictures of some of the first teams. There was my father, Nicholas Jaso, my uncle, great uncle, Raimundo Jaso, and Paul Vega's wife, Elmer Vega, and Ted Romero were the 3 or 4 main people who got the tournament started. And then fast forward a few years ago later, Elmer Vega chose to move the team to the church, and then that's when the church took over running the tournament.
Okay.
But it was pretty smooth transition.
Yeah. Well, and that's interesting too. Just to think that you go out there, you start the tournament, it becomes a success in a time in which it needs to be a success, and then looking back, that's a pivotal moment in Newton's history.
Right.
You can attach that straight to Newton, and then you even won the first tournament, so that's rock star, right? But that's like that whole idea was birthed out of the hearts of those that live within the city of Newton.
Yes. And I look back at that, and I don't know if I can say this or not, but my grandfather and my dad, they never held grudges. My grandfather especially, he used to make me laugh. He goes, "Mijo, what are you?" I said, I'm Mexican, Grandpa. "No, mijo, you're American."
Yes.
Don't you forget.
Yeah.
And
That's
so he was
right.
You
very
can say
proud of his
that.
heritage.
Heck yeah, you can say
and
that.
he would not let me tell me I was a Mexican. He said, "Nope, you're American."
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it was kind of,
the idea that you have to have a displacement of your beliefs when coming to America is a false precept. You're allowed to nurture your culture from where you come from. If you're an immigrant, it doesn't matter how many generations back, at least now, present day, in my opinion, for certain. And it's just amazing that you see that going back even to those point in time in which it was probably pretty rough for a person to just have that kind of positive optimism about the fact that, no, I'm part of this great nation. And even though it has its faults, this is my home.
Yeah, and they did that that way. I'm rambling here somewhat, but my grandfather, he actually was born in Mexico, and when he moved here, he would not let anybody speak to him in Spanish until he learned English. So he wanted to make this his country, and he did. Yeah. And he was proud of that fact up until the day he died. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
Well, and if you can talk a little bit about the Mexican heritage and how that affected not only integration, because you talked about how the club came to be and all the premises behind that, but how is the Mexican American culture?
Right.
How has that shaped the team coming up today to celebrate your 75th anniversary?
Well, a lot of times there was when I first started playing. I started playing in '71 myself, and it was strictly. I think we went to 1 or 2 open tournaments a year. All the other ones were Mexican American tournaments, and that tradition was what we loved.
Mm-hmm.
I've made friends through that playing that are lifelong friends.
Oh, absolutely.
And I just don't know that I can answer a question but yeah, it's just pride.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, right now we're the only Mexican American tournament in the country.
Wow.
And so,
awesome.
all of the other ones have dropped out, slowly but surely dropped out.
Yeah.
Now, we have changed some format a little bit. You can have 3 non-Hispanics that can play.
Yeah.
Because it just makes it fairer.
Yeah.
And I've even had people ask me, says, "Are you not being discriminatory by not opening it up?"
Oh.
And I kind of laugh. I say, it may seem that way, but after a while, it's not discrimination, it's tradition.
Yeah.
And it's a tradition. If we can keep it going, why not keep it going?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and that's an
Absolutely.
interesting battle that it's interesting you point that out, because I was going to rewind back to the days when you were playing. I want to ask about that, but no matter what front you're on, it seems like that's the constant battle that we're having, is for there to be a negative spin put on something that's a positive thing.
Right.
It's an opportunity to celebrate culture. Mm-hmm. It's an opportunity to celebrate history, even rough history, but how to overcome. She's mentioned reintegration. I mean, when you take like modern day, the youth that this get to hear this story through the game of baseball is a monumental thing that it only can be told by you, and that's why you're here today. And I love it. I'm so glad that you're here. I'm humbled. And so you said when you were a player. So let's take it back to back in the day. I'm going to call it right. Right? I mean, I'm not even a youngster anymore. I don't think. But So back in the day when you were playing, what position did you play? Like, how did you get hooked up with this? You said your dad obviously
my dad,
was involved and whatnot, but did you just had a lifelong desire to play baseball in general?
Yes, it was. I mean, it was like I said, my father, my dad's great uncle, which would be my great uncle, they all played ball.
Yeah.
If they weren't playing ball, they were playing instruments. They also had Mexican band. But anyway, and then I had older brothers that started playing. So baseball was just like a rite of passage for our family. And so it was just a no-brainer. That was what you're going to do next. That was what you're going to do. Of course, I always thought I was going to be a major league ball player, but that didn't quite work out. They told me you had to have talent.
Yeah. When it was all said and done, hey, I admire you for setting your ceiling high. That's what I tell you today is, try to be a professional baseball player and maybe you'll make a huge impact in baseball one day.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it was just I got cut from the American Legion team, not with a fair trial, but I don't want to get into that.
Right?
I don't want to get into that. But my older brother, or I shouldn't say older, but 2 year older brother than me, my brother Steve, everybody calls him Sparkle. You might even heard that name before. He called the coach up from the Newton Holy Name team and said, "Hey, my brother needs to play some fast pitch with us." He says, "Well, bring him on and see what he can do." And I started out just kind of a utility infielder, and the team that Holy Name at that time was just like the top dog of the teams around. So I knew I wasn't going to make on the lineup.
Yeah.
I was just happy to sit the bench and fill in if somebody was not going to got hurt or something. So I did that for about 2-3 months during the summer of '71. And one night, 2 of our catchers didn't show up. And God rest his soul, Raymond Ariana was the coach at the time, and he was on kidney dialysis. And he was going to have to catch. And I knew him too well, so I said, "No, I don't want you catching. Let me give it a shot."
Yeah.
So I got behind the plate, and of course, back in them days, all we used was a glove and a mask. That's all we had. Didn't have a chest protector. We didn't have no shin guards. We just went behind the plate. And so the first guy got on base, and he tried to steal, and I threw him out. Don't ask me how. I just got up and threw the ball, and he was called out, and so coach said, "You're our catcher from there on."
Well, there you go. Awesome.
And so then that's when I started catching, and I pretty much caught most of my career.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And seeing a lot of different people. I mean, you probably have a unit of a team, but being in it for so long, I'm sure there's been people that have come and gone over time.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Because life has to change and people move and, the whole thing. So is the Newton team primarily all Newton people, or is it a little bit broader than that?
Well, and for the longest time, yes, that was. But here recently, we've had to go outside of town to get people. It's just getting tougher and tougher. And I'm not, and I don't want to make anybody mad here, but I'm not a soccer fan. But unfortunately, I say unfortunately, not America probably doesn't say unfortunately,
right.
But more kids are playing soccer now, growing up playing soccer, and they're getting away from playing baseball. And it's been the biggest downfall for our fast pitch softball because we don't have anybody to keep following up. So
baseball's definitely in competition with many other sports now, where it never was that case before. Definitely.
Well, I think more so, in my opinion, anyway, soccer because it can be played year round, indoor, outdoor. So they're playing it during baseball season as well. Yeah. So it's getting tougher.
Yeah. Now, are your teams today? Like with your tournament coming up, are your teams co-ed or is it strictly male?
It's a men's tournament, but we have had women play in our tournament as well.
Okay.
Well.
Yeah,
cool. I've had cousins. Brenda Cervantes was the very first female to play in our tournament, and I had that to be 1970, late 70s. I know that, and we had a couple of out-of-town teams that brought a couple of girls down and played. And don't get me wrong. We'd love to have them. They're good enough. We don't want to give them hurt, obviously.
Yeah, right.
But if they're good enough to play, let's let them have.
Yeah. Well, some leagues are traditionally men's and women's, or one or the other, and some are traditionally co-ed. So
No, this is strictly men's. I forgot to tell you, but we even had she pitched for Newton High School. Heather Torres.
Okay.
She even pitched for our team for a little while there too, and she
Cool.
did well. She really did.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, well, that's something.
Yeah.
Stand up there on a plate, throw out grown men.
Yeah. that would be quite a niche.
Sissy's just going to try out. She
Yeah.
said, let me be one of the three.
No, Sissy doesn't run, so Sissy won't be playing any fast pitch softball.
Okay, so in the beginning, you mentioned that there was just a few different, like there was 4, right? Just 4 different teams? 3 or 4?
Yeah, when the very inception of the tournament, yes.
Yeah, and then now it's grown to 75 years later being how many?
Well, we normally average anywhere from 14 to 16 teams a year.
Okay.
I just talked to the tournament director, and right now he's got commitment from 20 teams this year.
See?
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
And what's the, and I know I did when just talking amongst people in the community about, what's that I heard they come from all over.
Yeah, we have commitment from Pueblo, Colorado.
Okay.
We also have one from San Antonio. I'm not real sure if Austin's coming. They came last year, but I'm not sure if they're coming this year. And in the past, we've had one team as far as Phoenix, Arizona.
Wow.
We've I know this year we have a couple teams from Oklahoma City coming. So yeah, they get out there, and obviously they are really our base is Kansas City teams. The Kansas City, Kansas, and Missouri side, they both have some good fast pitch teams up there. So they supply quite a few teams for us as well.
And then a question on this, I'm thinking like regionally, right? And maybe we're just mentioning this because this is our region of which this takes place. But I'm thinking, was there the same type of evolution with this baseball and I guess what we would say other than whites not being able to play in a Caucasian league? So then was there other places around like Kansas City maybe 75 years ago the same thing was happening at the same time?
Oh yes, and a lot of Mexicans in the early days came to the United States to work for the railroad.
Yeah.
And so yeah, they all pretty much all faced the same
Just
culture that we had to go
the
through.
dilemma. Yeah. And I would say often unnoticed. When you're talking about the civil rights movements and things during that time, a lot of times it's referenced to, the African American population, how they suffered, but the Hispanics or Mexican Americans or, whatever the PC term is what I want to invoke, were suffering the same fate.
Yes. I would just like to mention that the Kansas City Locos, their softball team is from way back, and they're still playing today. Obviously not the same players, but they came back from World War II, and they tried to go to American Legion up there in Kansas City, and they said, no, you're not allowed here.
Yeah.
So a couple of men that I can't remember, Televeras, and I can't remember one other name, but anyway, they decided they're going to form their own American Legion. So they opened up an American Legion, and to this day, it's still open. The one that they were denied closed.
Yeah.
So a little bit of justice.
Isn't that like fate? That's awesome. You know? And the thing is we, it's funny, we'll keep running back to this, just the time in which, this gave birth, this organization and what it did and what it offered the community and those participating in it. And then where we're at today is that we have to look back and realize that was a point in time in our history which was not okay, and that we just make the choice never to go back there again.
And consciously, we got to make sure of that. I mean,
we got to keep it alive.
I'm probably talking too much here, but
oh no, that's what this program's about.
When my father and some of their first teams started playing, they had like Mr. Newell. I don't know if you guys remember Charles Newell. He had he would actually sponsor them. He didn't care. He'd write them checks. You going to go to this tournament? Here you go.
Culture change.
And he was the only one that. Well, I should say there was also N.M.A.A.C. They sponsored a Newton team from Mexican American team. So there were some out there.
Yeah.
Now we have an overabundance of sponsors now. So that's a great change.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, that is beautiful.
And speaking of history, you said that your role with the organization is the Hall of Fame director. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, yes, I in 1994, some of the older men started what they called a Hall of Fame, and I think the first 3 or 4 years it was just Newton people that they put in a Hall of Fame, but till about I took over in 2002, And at that point, there was basically Newton teams or Wichita and a couple of Hutchinson. And I go, if we're going to have a Hall of Fame, let's do this right.
Right.
I mean, we got teams from Kansas City, from Topeka, Omaha.
Yeah.
We've got teams that come from all over the place, and they've played in our tournament for a long extended time. So why shouldn't they be considered in our Hall of Fame? So after 2002, I just kind of opened it up and started entering people that deserve to be entered.
Yeah.
From out of town, and it's worked out really good. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't always make people happy. They want to be in the Hall of Fame too.
Yeah.
But
Sure.
I tell them, I said, just because you didn't make it this year doesn't mean you're not going to make it next year.
And I have a question about that Hall of Fame and things. Does that give you the ability to just, just momentarily take a snapshot of that person's life through the career of what they've had in the baseball community there, and just be able to say kind of who this person is and their stats and how long they've been dedicated to it?
Well, unfortunately, we're not like the major leagues where we keep stats on everybody.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah.
But I mean,
Yes.
I've been playing since '71, and I've played against most of these guys.
Yeah.
And if I haven't, if they even go back further, in the past, I had a gentleman, Reynaldo Gonzalez, that played against him here in town. He passed away 3 years ago, so we don't have that. But I can't do this by myself, So I ask, different players from out of town, hey, what do you think about JoJo here?
Yeah.
And so they give me their honest opinion. That's one thing about it. If you're in the Hall of Fame, you don't want anybody that doesn't deserve to be in
Right.
there.
Yeah, that's true.
So you're going to
there's a vetting process. Yeah.
So you're going to tell me the truth, what you think of this player.
Yeah.
So I kind of fall back on a lot of the Hall of Famers that I've already in there to help me out.
Yeah, that's good. Once you establish that network, you can do that. That's
Yeah.
amazing. So
Yeah.
I guess there is a tournament. So are there other games that you play throughout the year, or is it just you practice and practice and then you come up to the tournament and that's go time?
Well, there's no leagues anymore at fast pitch. That pretty much went bye in the mid '80s. Wichita used to be, had 2 leagues of fast pitch. And of course, that just died out, and so basically all you're doing is playing tournaments.
Yeah.
Our team, I think, has gone to 3 tournaments already this year, and they probably got another 3 or 4 more to go yet. So, yeah, it's just basically tournaments only now.
Okay, but there's more opportunity to play in a few different games than just the one here.
Right.
What this one draws quite a few. Is this one drawing more than most others in the surrounding areas and organizations, or is there just more of a cohesiveness that's taken place over time where there's more sharing?
It's and believe it or not, we have the largest drawing tournament, and I think a lot of that's tradition.
Well, I can believe it by looking at the place when I drive by.
And-
I mean, it's an all-out, party.
And you
I mean,
all host that at Fisher Field, correct? At Athletic Park?
Athletic Park, yes. The funny thing is, the original tournament started at Athletic Park. And you guys are too young to know, but there used to be a ball field west of the football stadium.
Okay.
And they played there. And then a few years, fast forward a few years, they started playing at RD Guadalupe. And that venue was taken away from us in '95, I believe. So that's when we started going back to Athletic Park. But what was the final question? I forgot.
Oh, no, I'm just saying, has there been more cohesiveness over time where you see like with different organizations that are having difficult time, there's not people just knocking down the door to be a part of what you're doing. Yeah. So the way to keep those organizations alive is to go out farther and then help support them while they support you, you know? So it's like, well, we're in this together, so we need to attend each other's tournaments and make sure that we're playing, these games together. It's not just the Newton show, everybody shows up to Newton type of a thing.
Yeah, it's kind of, really, you come to our tournament, we'll come to yours.
Mm.
I don't know how far this reaches out and probably gets people mad at me, but it's funny that San Antonio, they only get about 10, 12 teams. And you would think, Texas, man, you can play year-round there, and you got teams from San Antonio, Austin, Houston, all in that area, yet they can only draw 10 or 12 teams. And I got some good competition down there, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But it's amazing how we're able to draw teams.
Well, do you think that might have to do, Sam? You got me firing on all cylinders here because, I mean, we could be going asking, like, we're into way opinion here. But I was just thinking in terms of, well, Texas is kind of a football community,
Yes,
right?
it is.
And Kansas and Nebraska and this whole region here, Missouri, is a huge baseball community. So if you're taking the two together, and it's almost like I'm seeing this story building of a time in which things were entirely different, where out of necessity birthed vision that then came to fruition that has grown over 75 years, and both can be a mirror to one another as to how things and times have changed.
Right.
You know, it's just an amazing story. So I'm on this, right? I like this, and I really appreciate this because this is what I wanted to accomplish with this program ultimately. So when you say, no, you're doing just fine. So you have Hall of Fame, right? Obviously, this is like a board, right? You have to have some kind of board or something, or incorporation, organization type thing. Just tell me a little bit about that. Just who's some of the who's on that, and how did that, probably wasn't a necessity in the beginning, but somehow there was a need, right?
Yeah, I like I said, when they started this in 1994, I think, is Raymond Arellano, my original first coach, was the first entry. There was only one that year. I'm not sure what I think it was, but they only had one. And honestly, the person who I thought started this Hall of Fame told me, no, I wasn't the one to start it. I said, so who started it? He goes, I don't know. And so he thinks it was Reynaldo Gonzalez. And, of course, now Ronaldo's passed away, so I'm assuming he did.
Yes, he can have that.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's just something that I'm in it. Of course, I have a lot of family members in it, and I'm very proud of that fact. But it's just, like I said before, it's kind of a pride thing. You want only the guys in there that you really think deserve to be in there.
Yeah.
Sure.
Now, I will tell you this, though. It has been involved a few couple. We are now entering people in our Hall of Fame that may not even played ball.
Yeah.
But they were a big contributor to our tournament.
Yeah.
Or they were a big contributor to their tournament. So you've got to reward. I think you got to reward that type of thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're the
Right.
person there making sure that making sure everything gets done behind the scenes
Right.
for 25, 30 years, you are a Hall of Famer.
Exactly.
You may not get the
right.
kind of recognition you deserve, but I mean, in and of
This-
itself, by doing what you're doing, that's an attempt to get that accomplished.
This year we're doing the exact same thing. We had a gentleman that was a ball player. Health reasons, he was not able to continue playing, but he took over as coach. He took over as tournament director of his tournament in Hutchinson. So we're putting him in the Hall of Fame this year, and we're very proud of the fact that we can do something like that for him.
Well, yeah, you can't play and you just choose to dig in some other way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and and you talk 75 years and all these individuals who have contributed over time, and you talk family and community and unity in the church there, and that being a nice place to be able to nurture that and water that and let that grow, over time. It's just there's an amazing program here. So I guess I'm asking the question. When's your next tournament? Like, when's this tournament coming up? That's the 75th year tournament.
This one will be June 30th, 1st, and 2nd.
Okay.
Because 4th of July falls on Tuesday this year. So we try to always make it either right after the 4th of July or right before it, depending on where the date falls on. But it's always going to be a 4th of July weekend, basically.
Okay. And so then, is there anything exceptionally different that's happened? I mean, I know you all have bigger crowd, right? So there's more teams. Is there anything else that you all are doing for your 75th that if people have never been, they're like, man, if I don't go to the 75th one, I'm not going to see?
Well, we it's just going to be a celebration. We're going to have there on Friday night. We'll have an old timers game. We're going to have some Azteca dancers out there that perform in front of the crowd. I think that when you get to my age, that old timers game is just so much fun.
Oh yeah.
And you run into people you don't see, but maybe once a year.
Yeah.
Or sometimes you don't see them for a couple of years, and then all of a sudden they come back again. So that's always fun. I mean, when I first started taking over helping, we were having trouble getting people for the old timers game. And so I'm going, we may not continue this because we're having trouble getting people to participate. And then I talked to Robert Sandoval. Him and I got the idea that maybe we should buy him T-shirts. Something funny saying,
Right.
old timers game, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And that first year I did it, we only had I think we made 10 shirts for each team. Well, it's grown to 30 T-shirts per team now.
Wow, that's awesome.
And they love it.
Yeah,
And
that's awesome.
sometimes they don't want to play, but they
Yeah.
sure want that
They-
T-shirt.
yeah.
They'll get through there. I will go home and rest up for a month after
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah. No injuries. I'm not pushing it this time.
Yeah.
Have mama telling you to slow it down. Don't need to get broke down again.
Yeah. I was going to mention the other thing that we're going to do this year. It's the first time we've ever tried it. We're going to have a banquet, a Hall of Fame banquet on Friday afternoon at the church.
Cool.
And what we normally did in the past was introduce all the Hall of Famers at the pregame. And we'll have them come out in the field. And we may still do a little bit of that.
Yeah.
But now at least there I won't have to put a whole biography. I'll do the biography at the banquet.
Yeah.
And this year I'm doing like I said, it's the first time, so why not give it a shot? And all my Hall of Famers that are coming get to eat free.
Yeah.
If they bring a guest, $20 a plate, which I don't think is too much to ask.
Right.
And we had a pretty good response. I think right now, like I said, for the first time around, we've had a little over 100 people coming already.
Oh,
That's awesome.
good.
So
That's
we're,
awesome.
we're happy with that.
Well, you did the
And
right
that's-
thing then,
yes.
taking a challenge,
Yeah,
right?
That's classy.
Yeah.
You know, that's classy because in a way in which, you're talking about solidifying them, it's just another way to honor them, make it more of a formal thing, and then hopefully that gets attached every year as you go forward.
Yeah, I like to. I always thought I wanted to do this banquet, and I was going to wait till I retired from working. I still ain't retired from working, so I think, well, if I wait to retire to working, I might not ever get this banquet going.
Right? Yeah, right.
So seeing this was the 75th, I just decided let's just do it.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I was going to say, they took the words out of my mouth that you started it on the 75th.
Yeah.
So when it's the 125th, you'll be celebrating 50 years of doing a banquet.
There you go.
Well, somebody will be. I don't know
Yeah.
if I will be.
Yeah, right. Well, that'd be awesome. Yeah.
So, what do you do in the off season as a club?
As a club, we still meet just to kind of get a little things together to make sure we are still thinking alike. And this year, we're going to September 16th. We're going to have a golf tournament at the Halstead Golf Course this year, sponsored by the Newton Mexican American Athletic Club.
Awesome.
And that's actually, they're not so much for us, but to help our team to travel. Traveling expenses are getting so expensive nowadays.
Yeah.
Back when I started playing, it was funny because we'd all jump in two cars. We'd all, tell motel owner, hey, we need one room, double bed. Well, how many people are staying there? Just two.
Yeah,
The whole
Right.
team's staying there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The things have changed. So
Yeah,
Right.
You got to adapt.
Yeah, unless you stay on the side of a road somewhere on the interstate, you got to be paying money.
Yep, that's for sure.
So, if someone wanted to contribute to your fundraising efforts for the team, to support the team, support your activities throughout the year, how do they do that?
Well, the best bet would be to get a hold of Cameron Becker. He's our kind of our advertisement and fundraisers,
Marketing guy,
marketing
treasurer,
there you go.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cameron, send out to Cameron Becker.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And you have a Facebook page.
yes, we do.
Yep, and I'm following that, and I'm very excited to read up on the upcoming tournaments. So, and obviously to meet you today and visit with you, and so can they find the contact information for Cameron on your Facebook page?
Yes, you
Okay.
should be able.
If you
Awesome.
if you just go to your Facebook page and send a message, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. That's
Awesome.
Do you guys have a web page?
We also have a web page. He just started this year. It's not complete as a.
Okay.
It's got the Hall of Fame teams on it and some of the stuff that we're doing for the team.
All right. Awesome.
But it's Newton N.M.A.A.C.com.
Okay.
Nice. Yeah, it started this year. You got to move into that digital age. No matter how you look about it. I know.
Well,
I just.
I know because they told me, hey OG, it's time for you to move on.
Yeah.
We
You gotta have a website address. I don't want one. Yeah, well, it's time. You kind of gotta have one.
Well,
I'm not gonna do it.
I don't mind a website. Just don't expect me to be controlling it.
Yeah, it's.
I'm with you.
I tell you, that's been a learning curve for me on a couple different occasions. It's just that is some work, So whoever's doing that for you, they're they're providing a service, you know, to help project you and everything that you have going on to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And that's just how it has to be done today.
Good.
It's just how it has to be done today. Well, we are getting close. Is there anything that you would like to say at the end of the program? I always give whoever the guest is the opportunity to speak directly to the hearts and minds of those listening.
No, I just, I'm not a real, well, my wife says I'm a talker, but I'm not really. I just like to, you know, if you haven't been, come out. You know, you'll have a good time. You'll have some good food out there. I'm always getting, and we always got the watermelon feed for free for watermelon feed on Sunday afternoon. That was in honor of Don Snap, passed away from COVID a couple years ago, and he always sponsored that. So after he passed, we decided to make the Don Snap Memorial Watermelon Feed.
There you go.
But anyway, the games are awesome. You know, if you never witnessed fast pitch, a lot of people have witnessed women or girls fast pitch.
Yeah.
This is just as good. You know, so I would say come out. You'll enjoy it. You know, and I always like the fried tacos too myself. But
Oh, no, fried tacos. Did you say
That's the
you had
reason
fried
I love.
tacos? I can have fried tacos and watch a fast pitch baseball game. And I've been driving by that every year my
Right,
entire
right.
life. And
We
it's
gotta
like
go.
heaven's just
Right.
passed me by.
You got to go.
Just kept
Yep.
passing heaven by.
Yep.
All right. Well, there you have it, folks. Thanks for listening to this episode of HC Talk.
HC Talk is an HTD podcast.
Make sure and reach out to either Sissy or me and let us know what you're thinking.
Enjoy your week, everybody.